And we are live tonight from Eternum, and I am back with my friend Lamani. Lamani, how are you, brother?
I'm okay. I'm hanging in there.
So we just had a very intense conversation over on Lamani's channel about sort of the hits and misses of Mutators, and we'll talk a little bit more about this event overall. Now, as you guys know the drill, it's 3 topics on my channel, 3 topics on Lamani's channel. If you want the whole video, you got to go like and subscribe to both. Lamani, are you ready for the New World Report?
I am.
He was drinking it. Yeah, usually I'm the guy drinking stuff and
Getting the water.
can't talk.
Yep.
All right, here we go, guys. We're talking about Mutators, obviously the big patch that hit this week for New World. And whether or not it missed the mark, I think we can both sort of agree after talking on your channel, it didn't really hit the mark perfectly.
It's like we're on a dartboard. It hit like a 10.
It hit like a
bullseye.
10. Yeah.
We're getting some points, but we're not exactly there yet.
Yeah, and I will say, I feel like this game in particular really suffers. We were talking before stream about Star Wars The Old Republic. Of all things, somehow we got on talking about Star Wars The Old Republic, and I was just like, you know what? They do storyline really freaking good. And there was not a whiff of storyline in this update at all. Not a whiff. It was just basically progression mechanics, right? It was the same content with damage numbers shifted around, with health numbers shifted around, and it is progression-based systems.
Yeah.
That, at the end of the day, that's what it is. You can say there's new swizzles with debuffs here and there, but it's progression-based content.
That's an interesting way to put it. I guess I didn't really think about that. And everybody knows this, I've, WoW background, MMORPG background. Whenever you see a progression-based update like this, there's still some kind of story progression or content progression, right? Maybe they put in a new expedition, or there's a new quest line or a new set of quests or something that, kind of gives you a little bit more oomph. And this one, it did just seem kind of like a mechanical, beep boop, gear score, ones and zeros kind of thing.
Yeah, zero stuff happening with the lore here. And another just massive missed opportunity with that stuff. And I sort of just go back in my mind. I'm like, this game has such good bones, but this update was just nothing. I don't know, man. It just, for me, it felt like a whole lot of nothing. I even was a guy who waited to try Laz, and now that I've done it, I'm like, I've done it 4 times. How many more times can I reasonably grind this before I'm just like, okay, I don't know if I'm having fun anymore,
And I want to, Laz, I know we're kind of getting off in a different direction here, but Laz specifically is one of those ones where I was telling you on stream, we've got this down pat. We have a solid group comp where we're getting it done in 15 minutes, somewhere around there. And you get to the last boss and you don't need a healer. You don't need a tank. There's 0 mechanics. There's 8 million spots where you can stand. You never touch anything. And you just sit there and left click on his face. As a healer, I just throw on a Void Blade. I respec full Void Blade and I just sit there and left click. And I don't have to do a single thing. No healing, no anything. And I think it's you go through all that stuff. You want a boss fight. You get a super cool boss. And it's this. And it still hasn't changed, and it's been like that since day one. It's just interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's the most grievous thing is they did not take the time to fix that boss fight. They did not take the time to make it compelling or interesting. I mean, basically, when we get to that guy, it's just you're just left clicking the whole time, and it's just what is this?
In a Mutator run, if you get past Cilia, you pass Snake Lady, it's a free run. You're home. You're home free. You'll get it. So it's I don't know.
There's one random skeleton guy. And hell, the archers are more scary than some of the stuff.
Yes, I get beamed by the archers. As a healer, you take an archer shot or 2, you're not feeling good. Those are I will say the trash in most of the places is the most difficult in everything. Dealing with some of those trash packs is way harder than anything else in there. Now, I will say Laz is kind of one of those ones where we expected that. Last boss is not challenging, but I hope they changed, or maybe give the bosses more mechanics. I think as we see Dynasty and Gen, you will see a big difference. Those have some more difficult boss content.
Okay. So overall, Mutators, I think we were a little underwhelmed, but we're gonna me and Lamani are here. We're gonna be playing this game. We're gonna be making content on this game. But we still can be critical when we need to, guys. So let's
Yeah, 100%.
continue on here. Let's talk about priority gems that you're going to need for Laz specifically, because that was the one that we had this week.
Mhm.
Now you brought up an interesting thing that I had no idea about.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
it's different buffs and debuffs per server, right?
Yes, so your mutator affixes are different. So for instance,
Affixes.
Urs
Okay.
has yeah, they have I forget what they call them actually. There's like 3 different sets, whatever. I'm just used to calling them affixes, but Urs on his server has void damage. I have fire stuff, right? So the gems you're going to be using per week are going to differ, but on your server. But there's also I've got a little spicy thing up my sleeve we can talk about in a second after we cover some of this.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
like for void, right? Like what gems are you thinking in your armor? What are you running?
So for void, I'm running the amethyst, I believe, is what it
Yes,
is, and
yeah. I would
that's
go amethyst.
yeah. So I did a full set of amethyst, and then on my weapon, I've got well, obviously since I've switched to tank, but before when I was running
Yeah.
void gauntlet and ice gauntlet, I had topaz in there.
Yep.
With running tank, obviously you're gonna want a carnelian gem in there, but um, yeah, like topaz strong. These guys are weak against lightning damage. And then
Yep.
obviously your weapon with something like our ancient bane, things like that.
Yeah.
Um, any other sort of variants that you would call out here?
My healing friends, you always need your diamonds. I'm double diamond always for extra healing. It's the only one that's gonna apply to your healing stuff.
Okay.
As far as like actual weapons, if you're running like void is strong, right? So like some people I saw weren't realizing they were running void because they're like, oh, it's good against ancients. But the coefficient for lightning compared to void is actually higher for lightning. So just hot tip there.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Now, I think, okay, you should definitely be running like if you got Fire Week, right? Rubies, like all max rubies, that's great. Let's say you have a bunch of gear though that like you're like, I've been grinding these sets. I don't want to go grind a bunch of different like, ancient bane or ancient ward, like angry earth ward, all that stuff. And you kind of want to like have more one consistent set. Maybe you're not wanting to switch gems a whole lot because it gets expensive. You don't have a lot of gold. Hot take, I would personally use some malachites. And I'm going to say malachites, start getting some malachite jewelry because a lot of the damage you're going to see is going to be elemental based. And you're
Mm,
still going to take some physical damage. But I started throwing malachites in my gear because you get a higher magic damage split protection and you get a little bit of physical. And I think malachites are going to be a really, really solid option just because, there's that elemental damage in there. There is some kind of weird diminishing returns that we were seeing when you threw in like full fire gems. And
hmm
so I was curious to see maybe do like a mix of some stuff. I don't know if the pro strat is to go full, like void damage reduction or full fire damage reduction. I think there's some weird breakpoints that you hit that I want to look into.
Okay.
But I would say start looking at things like malachites, diamonds, stuff like that.
Okay. And one other thing to call out here, we're working in Laz, and it'll probably be a different one in the next week or so. But hammer, good against ancients,
Hammer,
right?
yep, good one, good one. Yep, yep.
Okay.
Throw
Cool.
in hammers.
All right, let's continue on with our last topic here for this week on the New World Report is high-level mutator tips. Now, I know this has been like the mutator extravaganza episode, but it is the new update.
Yes.
Brother, we talked about some sort of, I don't know if they're not really exploits, but they're known things that you can do within the
Yes.
expeditions. Things like there's just off like the main entrance, or no, just adjacent to like the outside edge. You can just sit there as a healer and just heal on
Yep.
Shardis the whole
Yep.
time. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Shardis.
I don't even know what his name is. I just know
Yeah.
he's robot guy. That's kinda what I
Robot
call him.
guy. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah,
there's
that guy.
things like that. And you can just spam. And what other high level tips do you have for us for this?
So this is what I would say. So one on that guy, there's about 3 different spots you can stand where you will never get hit by a ranged mechanic. But if you're in a group with like a void blade, like we just stack everybody in melee and you just eat through it because he barely does any damage anyway.
Yep.
But as far as like what I would say for high level myth, like I almost said mythic plus mutators, is one, group comp is key. So like us personally, I think one of the strongest group comps you can have is you have your healer, obviously. You run a tank. That tank runs leadership, the damage passive, right? So,
Really?
stuff like that instead of the damage reduction, because you don't really get that much damage reduction out of it. Half the people are running around doing whatever anyway, and they're not standing in your little bubble thing. And our tank actually runs a leaping strike and then goes some of the defensive stuff, but enough on the left side to get leadership because that 10% damage you will give the entire group will be way more worth comparatively to anything else. And then he likes taking leaping strikes, so he has a gap closer. So he can like just jump out of stuff quick. He can, go like sometimes when somebody pulls aggro, go jump over to something like that. It's pretty good. But I think too, other big things I would really have in your group comp, like find a core group and start getting things that synergize. It's like a Void Blade is nuts to have. You can get with as much crit as they have, you can have constant Oblivion uptime, especially because your healer's probably gonna have an Oblivion in there too. But we have nonstop Oblivions. Get people with a lot of CC. The key in Mutators is AoE and CC locking.
Yep.
You get your hammers in there, you get your screams in there, you get your spears with the kicks and all kinds of stuff in there. CC's king, group comp synergy. But I think just in terms of group comp, have that core group and talk to each other. Be like, hey, what could I do differently that might benefit the group more? Right? Maybe you lose a tiny bit of damage, but maybe it's going to help out everybody. Getting rend cap, stuff like that is huge.
Yeah, there was an amazing post on Reddit, and it was basically this saying the exact same thing you said, where it was just talking about using CC to basically control time your CCs out. It was such a good post. We should pull it up. I'll put it in the notes below, guys. All right, Lamani, that wraps us up this week. The New World Report, episode 4. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video, guys. Any parting words before we get up on out of here, brother?
Nothing. I hope everybody's in a good spot. Hope you're safe, happy, and healthy. Keep on grinding the game, but don't forget you can play other games. Take breaks. It's okay. You don't have to commit to one thing. Just because you love playing the game, you don't have to just play it 24/7.
I love it.
Don't burn yourself out.
Sage advice from Lamani. All right, everybody. We will see you next time on the New World Report. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.